The Harrison family Christmas dinner had always been a performance of success, wealth, and status. This year was no different, except that I was about to become the star of the show, just not in the way my family expected. I adjusted my simple black dress, bought off the rack from Nordstrom, feeling distinctly underdressed among my relatives' designer labels. My sister Victoria's Gucci dress probably cost more than my car, or at least more than what they thought my car cost. Emma. My mother's voice carried across the formal dining room of their Manhattan penthouse. Come help me with these plates, since you're used to serving people in that little office job of yours. I gritted my teeth but moved to help. At 32, I was still treated like the family disappointment, the daughter who'd turned down a position at my father's law firm to work some corporate job that none of them bothered to understand. Where's James? I asked, though I already knew the answer. My older brother was probably making another grand entrance, likely with news of another promotion or bonus. Oh, he's just finishing a call with his managing partners, my mother replied proudly. They're making him senior partner next month. Youngest one in the firm's history. Right on cue, James strode in, his custom-made suit perfectly pressed, his Rolex catching the light from the crystal chandelier. Sorry I'm late, everyone. Year-end bonuses took longer than expected. Our father beamed. That's my boy. Always closing deals. Victoria, my sister, immediately latched onto James's arm. Tell them about the new house in the Hamptons, James. The one next to the Vanderbilts. I busied myself arranging plates, thinking about the email I'd received just hours ago. The merger I'd been orchestrating for months, the one that would reshape the entire tech industry, was nearly complete. But of course none of them knew that. They still thought I was some mid-level corporate drone pushing papers and getting coffee. Emma, my mother's voice snapped me back to reality. At least try to look interested in your brother's success. God knows you could learn something from him. I forced a smile. Congratulations, James. The Hamptons sounds lovely. He smirked, swirling his expensive bourbon. You know, sis, there's still an associate position open at the firm. Dad could put in a word. Better than whatever entry-level job you're still doing. I'm actually quite happy where I am, I replied, thinking of my corner office on the top floor of the Atlas Tech building, where I'd spent the last 5 years building the most innovative technology acquisition firm in the country. Happy? My father scoffed. Emma, you're 32. Victoria's already made partner at her consulting firm. James is about to become senior partner. And you're still, what exactly are you doing again? I work in corporate acquisitions, I said quietly, the same simplified explanation I'd given for years. Oh yes, Victoria laughed, adjusting her diamond bracelet. Still pushing papers for that tech company? What was it called again? Atlas something. Atlas Technologies, I corrected her, thinking of the nameplate on my CO office door that read Emma Stone, Chief Executive Officer. But they only knew me as Emma Harrison, the disappointing daughter who'd never lived up to the family name. The dinner progressed as it always did. James dominated the conversation with stories about his latest legal victories. Victoria chimed in about her consulting projects with Fortune 500 companies. My parents basked in their successful children's glory while sending me pointed looks of disappointment. Did you hear about the Maxwell merger? James asked, helping himself to more wine. Biggest tech acquisition of the year. $2 billion. My firm's handling the legal side. I took a sip of water to hide my smile. The Maxwell merger, my merger. The deal I'd spent months crafting, the one that would consolidate Atlas Technologies' position as the leading innovation hub in North America. The one James's firm was handling without realizing who really pulled the strings. Speaking of work, my mother turned to me with fake concern. Are you at least moving up at all in that company of yours? Any chance of a promotion? Before I could answer, Victoria chimed in. Oh please, Mom. Emma's probably still getting coffee for her boss. Some of us are just meant for simpler things. Actually, I started, but James cut me off. Remember when she turned down Dad's offer at the firm? He laughed. Could have been something by now. Instead, she's what, an executive assistant. Junior acquisition analyst, my father corrected with a sigh. Though God knows why anyone would choose that over a real career in law. I thought about correcting them. About pulling out my phone and showing them the Forbes article from last month. Atlas Technologies' mysterious CEO reshapes tech industry. The article that mentioned the brilliant but reclusive E. Stone without ever showing my picture. I'd worked hard to keep my identity private, using my mother's maiden name professionally to avoid trading on the Harrison family reputation. Well, my mother said with an air of finality, at least you have a job. Though I do wish you'd dress more professionally. That dress looks like it's from a department store. Victoria snickered. Not all of us can afford Gucci, Mom. Some people shop at, what's that store called? Macy's. I glanced down at my simple dress, a custom-made piece from a small Parisian designer that cost more than Victoria's entire wardrobe. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. How's the apartment hunting going? My father asked Victoria. Found anything suitable in Manhattan? Victoria brightened. Actually, I've got my eye on a perfect place. That new luxury building on Park Avenue, the Sovereign. Top floor penthouse. I nearly choked on my water. The Sovereign, the building I'd bought last month as an investment property. Isn't that building completely sold out? James asked. I heard the waiting list is years long. Victoria waved her hand dismissively. I have connections. My firm handles their corporate accounts. I'm sure I can work something out with the owner. Good luck with that, I murmured, thinking of the stack of rejected applications on my desk, including Victoria's. What was that? She snapped. Nothing, I smiled. Just hoping it works out for you. The dinner dragged on, each course accompanied by fresh reminders of my supposed inadequacy. James's stories grew louder with each glass of wine, Victoria's comments sharper, my parents' disappointment heavier. You know, James said, loosening his tie, I heard Atlas Technologies is looking to acquire Maxwell Industries. Biggest deal of the decade if it goes through. My firm's handling it, of course. Of course, my father nodded proudly. Though honestly, James continued, from what I've heard, this mysterious CEO is in over their head. The whole deal might fall apart. Amateur move, really. I checked my watch. The board meeting would be ending soon. The vote that would change everything was happening right now, while my family sat here believing I was nothing more than a junior employee. Still a junior analyst, Victoria mused, shaking her head. Don't you ever wonder where you went wrong, Emma? What you could have been if you'd just listened to Dad. My phone sat silent next to my plate. Any minute now. The board's decision would come through and then. I mean really, James continued, swirling his wine. What do you actually do all day? Get coffee? Make copies? File papers? I opened my mouth to respond, but Victoria wasn't finished. Remember when she said she was going to be successful on her own? Without the family name? How's that working out for you, little sister? The crystal chandelier light caught the edge of my wine glass as I lifted it, thinking about the empire I'd built while they weren't watching. The companies I'd acquired, the billions I'd made, all without anyone knowing my real identity. I do wonder, my mother sighed dramatically, where we went wrong with you, Emma. Your siblings are so successful and you're still just a nobody? I supplied quietly. Well, she had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. I wouldn't say nobody. Just underachieving. My phone lay silent on the table. Any minute now. The board meeting would be ending and then everything would change. I just had to wait for the perfect moment. James raised his glass. To success, he declared, and to hoping our little sister might someday find some of her own. Victoria laughed. Still a junior employee at 32. At least you have a job, I suppose. The crystal glasses clinked around the table, a symphony of success I wasn't supposed to be part of. But they had no idea what was coming. No idea at all. The grandfather clock in the corner struck 8, its chimes echoing through the dining room. James was in the middle of another story about his legal brilliance when my phone finally lit up. The caller ID read Sarah Martinez, my chief operating officer. Emma, my mother sighed, what have I told you about phones at the dinner table? I'm sure whatever entry-level crisis you're dealing with can wait. I smiled, letting it ring one more time. Actually, I should take this. It's about the Maxwell merger James was just discussing. James snorted into his wine glass. Please. Like a junior analyst would know anything about that deal. I'm handling it personally. Are you? I kept my voice light as I answered the phone. Sarah, you're on speaker. What's the board's decision? Sarah's crisp, professional voice filled the room. Miss Stone, the board voted unanimously in favor. The $2 billion merger with Maxwell Industries is approved. Congratulations, ma'am. You've just completed the largest tech acquisition of the decade. The silence that followed was absolute. James's wine glass stopped halfway to his mouth. Victoria's fork clattered against her plate. My parents sat frozen, trying to process what they'd just heard. Excellent, I replied calmly. Have legal send over the final contracts. I'll sign them tonight. Of course, Miss Stone. Oh, and the Wall Street Journal is requesting an interview. They're calling it a masterpiece of corporate strategy. Thank you, Sarah. That will be all. I ended the call and turned back to my family. I'm sorry, James. You were saying something about amateur moves? Stone. Victoria whispered, her face draining of color. But that's my professional name, I finished for her. Emma Stone, CEO of Atlas Technologies. Mother's maiden name, actually. Rather fitting, don't you think? James stood up so quickly his chair toppled backward. This is impossible. You're a junior analyst. You get coffee and file papers. I raised an eyebrow. Is that what you really think I've been doing for the past 5 years? While you were all so busy succeeding, did none of you ever actually check what I was building? My father's face had turned an interesting shade of red. You're the mysterious CEO? The one who's been reshaping the tech industry. The very same. I pulled out my phone and opened the Forbes article, sliding it across the table. Though I prefer innovative to mysterious. Victoria grabbed the phone, her hands shaking. Atlas Technologies, $30 billion in acquisitions, youngest CEO in tech history, revolutionizing corporate strategy. She looked up, her perfect makeup unable to hide her shock. This is all you. Every bit of it. I turned to James. By the way, your firm's handling of the Maxwell merger has been excellent. Though next time, you might want to check who you're calling an amateur. My mother found her voice. But why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. When have any of you ever believed I could succeed without the Harrison name? The sovereign, Victoria whispered suddenly. You're the owner. That's why my application was rejected. I smiled. The penthouse is lovely this time of year. Though I prefer my place in Tribeca. My father stood up slowly, his legal mind finally catching up. Atlas Technologies, you're worth more than the Harrison family fortune 10 times over? I supplied. Yes. Turns out the disappointing daughter did all right for herself. James sank back into his chair, his face ashen. All those meetings, the legal briefs I sent, you've been reading them? Every word. Your work is good, James. Though your tendency to underestimate amateur CEOs might need some attention. Victoria's perfectly manicured hands trembled around her wine glass. The consulting contract my firm's been pitching is under review, I finished. Though after tonight's performance I might need to reconsider. My mother's voice was barely a whisper. Emma, darling, we never meant. Yes, you did, I cut her off gently. You meant every word, every dismissive comment, every disappointed sigh. You all believed exactly what you wanted to believe, that I was nothing without the Harrison name. I stood up, smoothing my department store dress. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a $2 billion merger to finalize. James, your firm will receive the contracts tonight. Try to keep your amateur opinions to yourself while reviewing them. Emma, wait, my father called as I reached the door. We were wrong. About everything. Yes, I agreed, you were. And now you know exactly how wrong you were. I turned back one last time. Oh, and Victoria? About the sovereign, I'll have my assistant send over a list of more suitable buildings. One's more appropriate for your budget. The elevator ride down from their penthouse gave me time to savor the moment. As I stepped into my waiting car, a custom Bentley that cost more than James's house, my phone buzzed with messages from my family. Mom, Emma, please come back. We need to talk. James, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Victoria, can we meet tomorrow? Please? Dad, I've never been more wrong in my life. I smiled, remembering all the family dinners I'd endured, all the condescension I'd swallowed, all the times I'd bit my tongue while they belittled my choices. Success, I'd learned, wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving myself right. Sarah called as we pulled away from the building. Miss Stone, the contracts are ready for your signature. And there's something else. What is it? Harrison Legal just withdrew from the Maxwell merger. James Harrison personally called to recuse himself, citing family conflict. I laughed softly. Find us another firm. Preferably one that doesn't underestimate female CEOs. Already done. Oh, and the Wall Street Journal piece just went live. They're calling you the most influential CEO under 40. I looked back at my parents' building, thinking of their shocked faces, their shattered assumptions, their broken certainty about who I was and what I could achieve. Sarah, I said, send a copy of the article to my family. With my compliments. The next morning my office was flooded with flowers and apology notes. James sent an expensive bottle of whiskey with a card reading, "To the best so I never knew I knew." Victoria's consultation firm sent a desperate revision of their proposal, now offering rates well below market value. My parents left 17 voicemails, each more apologetic than the last. I sat in my corner office, looking out over the city I'd conquered while they weren't watching. On my desk sat the signed Maxwell merger documents, proof that the nobody they'd dismissed had become somebody extraordinary. My assistant buzzed in. "Your family is in the lobby, Miss Stone. All of them. They're asking to see you." I thought about all the times they'd made me wait, all the times they'd dismissed my presence, all the times they'd treated me as less than nothing. "Tell them," I smiled, "that they'll need to make an appointment. The CEO of Atlas Technologies is a very busy woman." After all, success isn't just about making money or closing deals. Sometimes, it's about showing the people who never believed in you exactly what they missed while they were too busy looking down to see you rising up. And as I sat there reading the Wall Street Journal's glowing profile of the brilliant strategist reshaping corporate America, I couldn't help but think that sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong, it's proving yourself right so spectacularly that they have no choice but to admit how wrong they were. The nobody had become somebody. And she did it all without their precious Harrison name,